Top of the morning, a wonderful afternoon, and a fantastic evening to every single die-hard tennis addict currently locked into this stream from all four corners of the map. It does not matter if you are navigating the chaotic rush hour in Manila, bundling up against the biting winter frost in Moscow, or joining us live beneath the glittering skyscrapers here in the United Arab Emirates. Welcome to this special, breaking broadcast. The countdown is officially on, and we are ticking away the final minutes and seconds toward a colossal showdown that represents so much more than a regulation tennis fixture. What we have on our hands is a script written in the stars, a generational warfare and a stylistic collision guaranteed to light up the desert sky over Abu Dhabi tonight. Under the intense, blinding glow of the stadium lights on center court at the Mubadala Abu Dhabi, Open history is waiting to be written. Mark your calendars because it is Thursday, February 5th, 2026, and the atmosphere is absolutely electric. We are fast approaching the 7 p.m. local start time, and the collective eyes of the sporting world are fixed on a quarterfinal duel, pitting national hysteria against cold-blooded elite efficiency. Ladies and gentlemen, let us set the stage with the challenger on the near side, the pride and joy of the Philippines, the dynamic southpaw sensation. This is a young woman who has fought tooth and nail through the junior ranks, surviving the brutal grind of the ITF circuit to finally plant her flag on the prestigious WTA 500 stage. She steps onto the court tonight, boasting a career-best live ranking, hammering on the door of the world's top 40 and demanding a seat at the big table. She arrives in the UAE, riding the momentum of a miraculous pulse-pounding resurrection that left tennis fans around the globe completely breathless just a couple of days ago. Her name is Alexandra Eala, and the obstacle standing in her path is nothing short of a modern tennis juggernaut. We are talking about the tournament's number 2 seed, the woman currently sitting at number 11 in the world rankings. This is a competitor whose entire game plan is built on suffocating flat power and a service action so lethal it often disarms rivals before they can even split step. She is the embodiment of veteran savvy and robotic ruthless execution on the court. She is Ekaterina Alexandrova. It is Eala versus Alexandrova. This is the quarterfinal clash that demands your full attention, and we are here to provide the ultimate comprehensive preview. So, why is this specific match the talk of the town? Why are we dedicating an entire segment to one quarterfinal fixture in early February? Because folks, in this beautiful game, context is the only thing that matters. To really grasp the magnitude of this 7 p.m. blockbuster, you need to look beyond the baseline and understand the wider narrative arcs at play here. This is not simply about trading ground strokes over a net. This is a battle for the future direction of Asian tennis dominance. It is about the arrival of a legitimate superstar from a nation obsessed with hoops, now rapidly falling in love with the drama of the tennis court. Take a second to rewind and consider where Alex Eala was just 48 hours ago. She was on the canvas. She was practically eliminated against Alexandra Sasnovich, trailing 0-4 in the final set. Being down 0-4 in a deciding third set at the professional level, that is usually time to sign the check and go home. The analytics on recovering from a double-break deficit deep in a third set against a veteran like Sasnovich give you a success probability of less than 5%. 99% of players would have capitulated. They would have glanced at the scoreboard, mentally checked out, and started booking their flight to the next city. But Alex Eala is built different. She tapped into a reserve of mental fortitude and sheer grit that simply cannot be learned from a textbook. She unlocked a competitive tier forged in the high-pressure kilns of the Rafa Nadal Academy, where she has been sharpening her tools for years. She clawed her way back game by agonizing game point by point to steal that victory in a tiebreak for the ages. That was not just a win, it was a declaration of war. It announced to the locker room, "I have arrived and I refuse to be beaten." Now she faces the ultimate gatekeeper of this bracket. Ekaterina Alexandrova is a completely different animal compared to Sasnovich. Alexandrova is a player who cracked the top 10 late last season. She is a specialist who absolutely feasts on low-bouncing, fast, hard courts, exactly like the surface we have here in Abu Dhabi. She takes the ball incredibly early and hits it so flat that she steals time away from you. If Eala is feeling any heaviness in her legs from that marathon, Alexandrova will expose it. She will not offer Eala a single second to reset. She will not provide the time needed to wind up that heavy lefty forehand weapon. So, the burning question hovering over the stadium tonight is simple, but terrifyingly real. Can the Cinderella story keep writing new chapters? Can the 20-year-old Filipina, surfing a tsunami of national support, dismantle one of the purest ball strikers on the WTA Tour? Or will the Russian veteran snuff out that spark and ruthlessly demonstrate exactly why she holds the number 2 seed? We are going to dissect this matchup from every possible perspective. We will break down the biomechanics of their ground strokes. We will examine the mental chess match and the psychological pressure cooker both players are stepping into. We will assess the court speed, the heavy evening air at 7 p.m., and the strategic blueprints both Igor Andreev and Eala's coaching team are drawing up right now. This is the magic of the WTA 500 events. They are the proving grounds where promising talents evolve into bona fide global icons. A victory tonight for Eala is not just a ticket to the semis. It likely pushes her into the top 35 for the first time. It means locking in a seeded position for the upcoming majors. It means history. For Alexandrova, winning is just business as usual. It is about defending her territory against a hungry next-gen star trying to take her spot. The pressure dynamics are totally flipped for these two women, and that psychological weight will dictate the rhythm of this contest. I want you to visualize the energy inside that arena tonight. The Filipino community, here in the UAE, is massive, and they bring an energy that is second to none. They turn tour matches into Davis Cup riots. When Eala steps onto that purple court, she will not be alone. She will be carried by the roar of thousands of fans chanting her name. The massive question mark hovering over this clash is simply this: how will Ekaterina Alexandrova, a veteran notorious for her hot and cold temperament, handle a stadium that is openly, loudly rooting against her? Picture the scene: she steps to the baseline. The ball goes up for the toss, and 5,000 rabid fans are screaming their lungs out, actively praying for a double fault. What on earth is going through her head in that high-pressure split second? On the flip side, you have to wonder how Alexandra Eala copes with the suffocating pressure. She is still so young, still finding her footing on these mammoth international stages. Being the scrappy underdog with zero pressure, that is the easy part. But carrying the hopes of an entire nation, that is a different beast entirely. She knows millions back home are glued to their screens right now, holding their collective breath, desperate for another miracle upset. Do not get it twisted, though. We have watched this young phenom dismantle legitimate Grand Slam champions and absolute titans of the sport before. This is not her first rodeo against the elite. Just cast your mind back to her stunning victories over heavy hitters like Madison Keys. Or even better, remember when she shocked the world by taking down world number 1 Iga Swiatek in Miami last year? That tells you everything you need to know about her ceiling. She knows she has the weapons to hang with the best, but doing it back-to-back, following up a miraculous comeback by beating a top 11 player the very next day, that is the litmus test for a true champion. At 7 post-meridian tonight, the rackets will finally do the talking. But until that first ball is struck in anger, we are covering every single angle, storyline, and subplot surrounding this massive clash. We need to break down the head-to-head record, which sits at a clean 0-0. These two warriors have never crossed paths on the tour, so the element of the unknown is a huge factor here. We are going deep into the serve statistics, crunching the return point percentages, and looking at those critical breakpoint conversion rates. Those represent the fine margins that will decide who survives and who goes home. So strap yourselves in. Grab your coffee, your popcorn, or whatever fuel you need to handle the excitement, because we are not just skimming the surface today. We are going all in. We are diving straight into the deep end of professional tennis analysis. We are here to deliver the kind of comprehensive, nitty-gritty breakdown that you deserve as a fan. We are either about to witness the meteoric ascent of a new icon in Asian sports history, or the cold, hard reassertion of dominance by an established member of the global elite. This is the quarterfinal showdown. This is the defining moment. This is Alexandra Eala versus Ekaterina Alexandrova. Our wall-to-wall coverage kicks off right now. Let's cut the fluff and transition immediately into the cold, hard facts. It is time to look at the statistics that will define this fascinating matchup. To truly grasp the volatility and the stakes of this quarterfinal, we have to examine the numbers and the grueling roads both women traveled to reach this Thursday night showdown. First up, let's set the stage. We are at the prestigious Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open. This is a WTA 500 event, a major stop in the global tennis hierarchy. This is the big leagues, folks. We are sitting just one tier below the Grand Slams and the WTA 1000 tournaments. That means the ranking points on the table here are absolutely massive. For a rising star like Alexandra Eala, who is hovering around number 45 in the world rankings, the implications of a deep run this week are potentially life-changing. The gap between a quarterfinal finish and a semifinal spot. That is the difference between being an unseeded floater at Roland Garros or entering Paris as a seeded threat, avoiding the top guns in the early rounds. The match is slated for 7 post-meridian local time, and do not overlook that detail, it could completely dictate the flow of play. In Abu Dhabi, that intense desert heat drops off rapidly in the evening, but the heavy humidity that tends to linger and hang thick over the court. Consequently, the ball is going to travel just a bit slower through that heavy night air, a stark contrast to the blazing speed you get under the afternoon sun. On paper, these slower, heavier conditions favor a tactician like Eala, who relies on heavy spin and point construction. A faster, hotter court would play right into the hands of Alexandrova's flat ballistic serving. So, it looks like Mother Nature herself might be tipping the scales slightly in favor of the Filipina star for tonight's encounter. Now, let's put Ekaterina Alexandrova under the microscope. If you are just a casual fan, you might not realize just how incredibly dangerous this woman is on a tennis court. She is a veteran at 31 years old representing Russia. She stands 5 feet 9 inches tall, plays right-handed, and possesses a two-handed backhand that is absolutely lethal. She holds the world number 11 spot right now, having peaked inside the top 10 just a few months ago in late 2026. Alexandrova is the definition of a first-strike player. She has zero interest in a long rally, and she definitely does not want to be sprinting side to side for a 20-shot exchange. Her goal: hit an ace crush, a service winner, or blast a return past you immediately. Her entire game is built on high-risk, low-margin aggression. When she is zoning, she is virtually unplayable. She can paint the lines and hit winners from absolutely anywhere on the court. Heck, she could probably hit a winner from the locker room. Just look at the previous round. She dismantled Diana Yastremska 6-3, 6-0, and honestly, she barely broke a sweat doing it. She has spent significantly less time on court than Eala. She is fresh, she is well-rested, and she is showing exactly why she is the number 2 seed in this tournament. Now let's pivot to the story that has captured hearts across the globe. We need to talk about Alexandra Eala, the 20-year-old Filipino lefty, and really contextualize her journey. Eala is not just another tennis player. She is a carefully cultivated project of sporting excellence, someone who has been groomed specifically for moments just like this one. She moved to the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain when she was just a kid. And when you watch her play, you can clearly see that Nadal DNA stamped all over her game. It is not just the fact that she plays left-handed. It is the ferocious way she fights for every single point. That vamos spirit is deeply embedded in her competitive psyche. Her game has evolved exponentially over the last 12 months. Throughout 2026 and heading into 2027, we have watched her transition from a promising junior into a legitimate, terrifying threat on the tour. She bagged her first WTA 125 title in Guadalajara. She stormed into the semifinals in Miami, and she is no longer just happy to be here. She knows she belongs on this stage. Her primary weapon, that wicked lefty forehand. It generates heavy topspin that kicks up aggressively high on her opponents. Against a striker like Alexandrova, who loves to hit the ball extremely flat and low, Eala's high-bouncing forehand could be the ultimate disruptor in this matchup. If Eala can get that ball kicking up above Alexandrova's shoulder height, the Russian is going to struggle to flatten it out effectively. It takes her right out of her comfort zone. That is a major tactical key, but we also have to talk about the mental game. Her match against Sasnovich in the round of 16 was nothing short of a revelation. Eala was down 2-1, effectively trailing 0-4 in that deciding third set. The crowd had gone completely silent, expecting the end. The commentators were practically writing her tennis obituary right then and there. But Eala did something incredible. She simply refused to miss another ball. What started as a seemingly impossible climb up a mountain transformed before our eyes into a textbook display of pure mental fortitude. She was on the ropes, staring defeat in the face, but she managed to claw her way back inch by inch. First came that crucial break of serve to stop the bleeding, followed instantly by a thunderous hold that sent shockwaves through the stands. Dragging the set into a do-or-die tiebreak, she did not just survive the pressure cooker. She thrived in it, dominating the court with the fearlessness of a seasoned champion. Snatching a win when you are practically shaking hands at the net does something profound to a player's internal wiring. It changes the very chemistry of their confidence. It builds a psychological armor, a formidable aura of unbeatability that screams to every future opponent that the match is never over until the final ball is struck. Tonight, as Alex Eala prepares to walk out onto center court under the glare of the floodlights, she brings that supreme belief with her, the knowledge that no gap is too wide to bridge. That kind of mindset makes her a nightmare to play against. Now, looking at the matchup itself, we are in for a treat because, remarkably, this is the very first time these two warriors will lock horns on the professional tour. With the history books completely blank, 0 wins and 0 losses on either side, the conventional wisdom usually favors the veteran in the room. In this specific duel, Alexandrova carries the weight of experience, owning the seasoned capability to diagnose problems and adjust her tactical approach mid-match far more rapidly than a rising star typically can. But you simply cannot ignore the chaotic element of the left-hander's game. Eala's southpaw geometry opens up the court in ways that create uncomfortable, jarring angles and spins that are incredibly difficult to read if you have not seen them coming at you at full speed. And the puzzle begins the moment she tosses the ball for her serve. If we break down the cold, hard statistics, Alexandrova is the one calling the shots from the service line. She is currently sitting near the top of the leaderboards for total aces fired in the 2026 season. While Eala has done massive work to beef up her own delivery, her serve is still the part of her game that opponents look to attack. The red alert for Eala is undoubtedly her second serve performance. The analytics show that when she is forced to rely on that second delivery, her win probability takes a nosedive, hovering dangerously close to that 45% threshold, which is not where you want to be against a top-tier striker. Make no mistake, Alexandrova will be stepping in eyes wide looking to crush anything that sits up in the service box. For Eala to have a fighting chance tonight, keeping that first serve percentage high is absolute law. If she starts floating in soft second serves at 75 miles per hour right into Alexandrova's wheelhouse, she will be watching winners fly past her before she can even move. However, let us pivot to the return game, because this is the domain where Eala truly lights up the stat sheet. She has forged a reputation as a scrappy, relentless returner who treats every point like it is match point, refusing to hand over anything for free. The magic word for the young Filipina tonight is neutralization. If she can just manage to block Alexandrova's heavy first serves and get them deep back into play, she reveals the chink in the armor. Alexandrova's ability to move laterally and recover has always been shaky when she is dragged out of her comfortable central position. We have to be real about it. Alexandrova is not exactly gliding across this surface like a figure skater. Her entire game plan is built on planting her feet on the baseline and blasting heavy, flat lasers to the corners, not on scrambling defensively to chase down balls in the alleys. This gives Eala a clear strategic blueprint, make her opponent suffer physically. By utilizing delicate drop shots, sharp cross-court whips, and high heavy looping balls to jerk Alexandrova around the court, the unforced error count is bound to spike. Eala's job is to extend these rallies until her opponent's legs and patience give out. The math is straightforward. As the rally count increases, the probability of an Eala point rises significantly. Alexandrova is the sprinter looking for a quick knockout punch, while Eala is the endurance athlete ready to run a marathon to win a single point. Eala needs to turn this tennis match into a street fight. Her primary objective is to make it ugly, gritty, and physical, forcing Alexandrova to hit one more ball than she wants to over and over again until the veteran's discipline finally cracks under the strain. Now, shifting gears to our X-factor analysis. There are two gigantic variables looming over this match that could swing the result. First up is the fatigue factor. We cannot forget that Eala is fresh off a grueling nearly 3-hour marathon battle just 48 hours ago. Compare that to Alexandrova, who cruised through a light 1-hour contest and barely broke a sweat. Will Eala's legs have the spring they need? At 20 years of age, the body recovers fast, but the emotional hangover and mental exhaustion from such a high-stakes comeback can linger longer than muscle soreness. Then we have the second major variable, and frankly, this might be the game-changer: the electric atmosphere inside the stadium tonight. The massive Filipino expatriate community in the UAE is expected to flood the arena. While tennis is often seen as a hush-hush polite affair, all those rules go out the window the second Alex Eala walks onto the court. Prepare yourselves for noise levels rivaling a Davis Cup tie. The thunderous cheers, the ocean of flags, and the palpable energy can absolutely shake a lonely player on the other side of the net. We know for a fact that Alexandrova can get rattled when the crowd turns against her. We have seen her shoulders drop and her frustration mount when the momentum isn't going her way. If the fans get loud early and Eala grabs the lead, Alexandrova might start feeling the pressure of playing against not just a talented opponent, but an entire stadium of people. Let us zoom out for a moment for our big picture segment. Why is there so much hype around this specific match? Why does it matter beyond who shakes hands as the winner? We are focusing so heavily on this because we are watching the tectonic plates of the tennis world shift in real time. For the longest time, professional tennis was essentially a private club for the United States, Western Europe, and Australia. But that era is ending as the Asian wave crashes onto the scene. From the trailblazing Li Na to the dominance of Naomi Osaka to Zheng Qinwen and now Alex Eala carrying the torch for the Philippines, Eala is a unicorn in this landscape. The Philippines has always produced legendary fighters like Manny Pacquiao, magicians on the pool table like Efren Reyes, and iron-willed lifters like Heidelin Diaz. But tennis was always viewed as a niche hobby for the wealthy elite, not a national obsession. Alex Eala is rewriting that script by herself. Every time she laces up her shoes for a professional match, she is inspiring thousands of Filipino kids to trade their basketballs for tennis rackets, dreaming of center court glory. The rewards on the table tonight are massive. A victory here catapults her directly into the semifinals of a prestigious WTA 500 tournament. That is rare air for a rising star. We are talking about the kind of result that gets you noticed not just by tennis hardliners, but by the general public and the mainstream news cycle. It would effectively lock in her spot for the upcoming Olympic Games, marking her as a cornerstone athlete to watch for the entire next Olympic cycle. Beyond the accolades, a win validates the years of sacrifice her family has endured and the massive resources invested by the Rafa Nadal Academy. So how does she get it done? If I were sitting in the coach's chair in Eala's box, what am I telling her right now, Alex? Patience is your best friend. Use that lefty spin to stretch the court and open up the lanes. The number one rule: do not get into a hitting contest. You cannot outmuscle Alexandrova power for power. You have to outthink her. Use the drop shot to chop up her rhythm and keep her guessing. Drag her forward. Make her come to the net where she is uncomfortable. Feed off the crowd's energy, but keep your mind ice cold and focused on the execution. Now flip the headset. If I am coaching Alexandrova, what is the game plan? Kill the noise immediately. Serve big, hit your targets, and silence the fans. Go for the tee on the serve. Attack Eala's second serve like it is a personal insult. Step inside the baseline to rob her of time. Keep the points short, violent, and decisive. Do not let her drag you into a long physical war. Respect her game, but impose your superior power and will from the very first ball. As we wrap up this deep dive analysis, the lights in the arena are dimming. The players are likely in the tunnel, bouncing on their toes, running through their final visualizations. The headphones are on, blocking out the world. The focus is absolute. We have crunched the data. We have dissected the biomechanics and the tactical mismatches. We have talked about the beautiful narrative of the underdog versus the established favorite. But ultimately, sport isn't played on a spreadsheet or a script. It is decided in those split-second moments of courage between heartbeats. Tonight's showdown at 7 o'clock is not a guaranteed result for anyone. The algorithms and the betting houses might point to Alexandrova as the clear favorite due to her ranking and raw firepower. But your gut tells you that you cannot count out Alex Eala. You cannot write off a competitor who simply refuses to accept that she is beaten and fights for every inch of the court. You cannot put a number on heart and desire. If Eala pulls this off tonight, it will be the biggest story in the tennis world by sunrise. It will be the undisputed upset of the week, hands down. It will launch her ranking into a new stratosphere, granting her direct entry into every major tournament on the globe. A win tonight does not just change her week, it alters the trajectory of her entire career. If Ekaterina Alexandrova manages to secure the victory in this match, it effectively resets the entire hierarchy of the tour, paving the way for a massive semi-final showdown against another heavy hitter, likely facing off against powerful intent down opponents such as Samsonova or Baptiste. A triumph this evening is absolutely critical, as it keeps her firmly established on the road toward capturing yet another elite championship title to place inside a trophy cabinet that is frankly already bursting at the seams. However, if we take a moment to look beyond the eventual scoreline, what we are observing tonight represents the absolute summit and artistic beauty of high-level competitive sports at its finest. You are witnessing two fierce competitors from completely different backgrounds meeting in the intense desert heat to decide who reigns supreme today. And I urge you to truly reflect on the crushing weight that currently rests upon the closet, young shoulders of Alexandra Eala. Despite being just 20 years of age, she has stepped onto this court carrying the massive hopes, dreams, and expectations of over 115 million Filipino fans squarely on her back. To her, every single unforced error likely feels as if she is letting an entire country down, whereas every winning shot triggers a nationwide celebration, and yet miraculously, she manages to compete with a sincere and beaming smile. She brings an infectious sense of enthusiasm and joy to the game, which might just be her most lethal tactic. But now we need to shift our attention to the seasoned veteran across the net, Alexandrova. Try to visualize the immense pressure she faces to maintain her ranking and hold off the surging wave of future superstars. It is a profoundly solitary position at the top, when you are perpetually watching your back for challengers. She understands perfectly well that she needs to be utterly merciless between the lines tonight because she simply cannot afford to show even an ounce of sympathy. So consider this my final alert. Do not miss a single second of this contest. Ensure you are tuned in, have your streams ready to go, and are tracking the live scoreboard because 7 o'clock tonight is not merely a time slot, it marks an unavoidable and explosive collision course. Do not go anywhere because we will be returning to the air immediately following the handshake to provide a comprehensive post-match analysis, breaking down every set, every pivotal breakpoint, and every disputed line call. We are committed to delivering the freshest quotes directly from the press conference, along with real-time updates to the world rankings as they shift. But for this very moment, the stage is officially primed. The leading stars are prepared to take the spotlight, and you better believe the Philippines is watching closely. Russia is tuning in, and the entire global sporting community is paying close attention. Will we see that enchanting left-handed topspin strike once again? Or is the raw velocity and aggression of the Russian power game going to reign supreme? We appreciate you joining us for this in-depth coverage. This has been your essential primer for the quarterfinal clash at the Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open, featuring Alexandra Eala against Ekaterina Alexandrova at 7 o'clock on the stadium court. History is waiting to be written, so enjoy the match, everyone, and let the games begin.